finest. Jeff Hemmings. Juice.
The new album, Tearing at the Seams, coming out on the 9th of March on Stax Records, which is the same label that released your previous album, the first album as The Night Sweats. Patrick, were you in the band for the first album as well, from the beginning?
I was, yeah. It was Nathaniel and myself that went to go record the first record with our producer, Richard Swift.
It was just you two, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's basically how the band started, just you two, and then you developed the band from there.
There's a little backstory.
Yeah, it's a little. So there was. We kind of started to be a band, but I had demoed and recorded most of the songs in my attic, and we didn't. There was a couple other guys that were playing with us, like Joseph Pope and Mark Schusterman, who had already been in a band with me and Patrick before.
We had been in many bands around Denver for years before.
But yeah, we had. I didn't really have the budget, and it couldn't, support everybody going out to record with Richard, and so I knew Pat could play most everything, and I could play a lot of the stuff as well. So it was really just like, how are we going to make the best record as fast as we can? And that was the first record.
Okay, just a bit of backstory, if you don't mind, because some of our listeners won't know, but you yourself, Nathaniel, was a solo artist basically, and you released a number of albums as in effect, a singer-songwriter. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah. I still think of myself that way in a lot of respects. I kind of had that as I wouldn't call it a career, but I was trying to make it a career.
Yeah, I remember seeing a clip of you, I think it was on Jules Holland actually, and it's just you and one other, I think a female singer.
Yeah, Julie Davis, that's Joseph's wife.
Right, okay. So it's a family affair.
Yeah, it is. It still is.
Yeah.
Now the band has grown. There's 8 of us, we all really like each other.
Well, that helps, doesn't it? Especially when you're on tour.
Yeah, we make jokes about the never-ending tour. So. Which, we can't complain about it.
No.
It can be hard sometimes, but really, it's just a pleasure to be able to play for people who want to hear us.
Okay, and obviously that your fortunes have improved quite markedly since the earlier days.
Yeah.
Was there a moment, a defining moment, when you decided to basically go for this kind of this new sound, this new vibe that you've created?
Yeah, we had made a record called Falling Faster Than You Can Run, and I had been dropped from the label I was on, which is actually now the label is the parent company of that label that dropped us. But I was kind of just like burned out of doing like sort of Americana singer-songwriter stuff, and I had a friend who had asked me to come over, and he wanted me to come to his studio and record a couple of songs, and I was like, well, I can't. I don't want to play any acoustic guitar, and he's like, well, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, well, I always wanted to do like soul and R&B. So I went home and I started to work on a song at my house, and within a few days I had a lot of songs that were written in that style, and kind of out of discouragement because I didn't know what else I was going to do, and I've been feeling like I was been treading water for such a long time and struggling as a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
Brighton's finest. This is Juice.
So it's just been brilliant, hasn't it? It's been a fantastic journey for you, and great stuff. Congratulations. I've seen you play a couple of times. Thought your last album was amazing. I've only had the chance to play the new album a couple of times, but it sounds like it's kind of continuing in the vein of the first album. Would you say that's true? And was there any different way of approaching this one? Did you record it differently, or?
Yeah, the first record was just like we said earlier, it was Patrick and myself and Richard Swift who did it. And since that record came out, and we've just we've been playing so much together as a band. I wanted everybody to come and write with me and just be in the studio and play and do what we do live, because a lot of people consider us a great live band, and so I wanted to try to bring that into the record and the recording process, and so that's what we did. We did a lot of the songs live in one room, and made the record the way I think records used to be made. Just a bunch of guys or a bunch of people having a good time sitting around and trying to figure out the best way to make a song.
Sure, and that's the old 60s way, isn't it? That's how they made all the records on Stax back in the day. very simple setups and just do it live and as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of, there's a lot of songs that now we're out doing shows. We're like, oh man, how does this go? We only did it like 6 times, and that was like from when we wrote it and figured out what the arrangement was and then played it. And like been going back and trying to figure things out. But
even the title track of the record, I think when we were in the studio, we spent at max 3 hours learning and arranging,
writing, and finishing it. Yeah.
But there's a great energy that comes with that process. It's fun.
And do you allow mistakes to stay? Even if they're not really, the ordinary listener can't hear them, but you can hear them.
Some stuff that's just going to be there forever.
Yeah,
but that's what makes it great, and that's what you don't hear that a lot anymore.
No.
It's so easy to correct things and pitch things and tune things.
Yeah, and that's, we really, Richard, like Richard Swift would say, he's like, you can't pay for a mistake like that. And when I listen to older records that I love, you hear little things in there and you're like, wow, it's crazy that that's the take they stuck with.
Someone green-lighted that.
Yeah, but I kind of like that. That's how we approach this record.
Even some of the Beatles stuff, isn't it?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes it shifts key a little bit. Sort of pace and whatnot. Okay, so "Tearing at the Seams" is the name of the album. It's the final track on the album as well. Can you tell us a bit about that particular track and also why you decided to call the album?
Yeah. Well, it was the last song we did in our last recording session with Richard Swift, and like Patrick said, it was from start to finish about 3 hours to write and figure out what we were doing with the song, and it felt like something important to us, and it was, and I don't know, as far as a writing perspective, I wanted to, at first it was kind of a pretty personal song, but I wanted to change it to sort of talk about what's happening in American culture, and it just feels like a lot of things that any progress that we had is just being torn apart right now, and I feel like I want people to fight for something that's positive and take care of each other, and so we're really trying to do our best to not alienate anybody and try to bring people together, and I thought it was important to have that as the title.
This is
Brighton's finest.
bringing the artists closer to you.
Juice.